Hello, everybody. This is Stu Smith along with Jeff Nichols, and this is a Tactical Fitness Report focusing on strength, periodization training. And this is what I think is the foundation for every element of fitness. Because, every now and then I get asked, why do I need to do strength training? I'm like, you have to do strength training. You have to have the ability to withstand gravity and withstand greater than your body weight on your axial spine, axial skeleton, and your legs. So anyway, there's so many different things that we use strength training for. I typically do this. I have a strength training program. We typically really mainly focus all through the winter. However, in the spring and the fall, we do some combination training. It's still combo strength / muscle endurance stuff. But in the winter, we really try to focus more on less repetitions, more weight, building pure strength.
Yep.
And here's why. Because you're going to be asked to carry logs. You're going to be asked to carry boats. You're going to be asked to carry people. You're going to ask to carry heavy backpacks and all your gear, no matter what tactical profession you are in, you are going to be carrying gear that weighs anywhere from 25 pounds to 75 pounds, or could even be more. So the strength is an absolutely crucial element to your training. Yep. And you do that with weight. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff here, and we'll see how he likes to break it up.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak for Stu and I both. We are not by any stretch saying exclude these other components, because the first part we talked about, like the 30,000 foot view of programming and periodization. So we're taking a systematic approach of going, all right, what is the most logical and most often used step number one in that periodization is strength. We need to develop a base of strength, or the hypothetical person will talk about, say, hey, they're fairly novice. We've just talked to them. Stu and I just talked about periodization. Now we're going to talk about the program side. So the first part of the program is strength training. Let's get them stronger. Okay.
Right.
Again, strength is not lift heavy weight as much as you can, as often as you can. That's absolute strength. We're not saying powerlifting status of 1 rep maxes. No, we're saying a good approach to standardized loading of the spine, of the joints. Okay. Add some repetitions. Those repetitions give us distance. Work equals force times distance. So try to get that workload up. That workload builds a base of strength. From that base of strength, and we'll get to later, is then we can take that strength and speed you up, get a little bit of speed and agility and those components to it. And we'll get into that later. But right now it's okay. And also because strength training is such a broad field.
Yes.
It gives us as coaches and you all as athletes, tactical athletes, a huge variety of things that probably be a big part of that is going to be things you enjoy.
True.
So that's the beauty, is we can say strength training. It's very difficult to define. Like, it's difficult to define fitness. It's difficult to define recovery because it's so broad. So strength training it is body weight. It is barbell work. It is dumbbell work. It's band work. It is rucking. It's added load to the human body with varying speeds and varying distances.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
And I will do this typically too, is depending on the person. Once again, there's our answer. It depends.
Yep.
A strength training workout for one person might be a single push-up.
Yes.
It might be a single pull-up, because your first pull-up is a strength exercise. Your 20th pull-up, you have now taken that strength exercise and morphed it into a muscle stamina endurance exercise.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But you got to have that strength first. So that's why we are talking about strength so importantly now.
It's relative. Exactly that. It's relative to the needs of the individual. So that's why Stu and I say, he and I both have programs out there that are stipulating reps and sets and volume and so forth. What we're also emphasizing is that movement quality, again, and we talk about swimming and other things too, but movement quality allows for greater efficiency in movement, which will then translate into greater distance covered, greater work volume. And so that's why we're saying we're not looking at absolute strength necessarily in the tactical space. Now, as you advance into strength in these periodization models, we're going to plug in some absolute strength work in those 3 to 5 rep maxes, and those maybe some singles depending on the competency.
Sure.
But if we're talking about capability and competency, everyone is capable and can be competent to work on a good general strength training program. Not everyone, and really the vast majority of the people, even good, really good athletes, if I'm not working up in my percentages, I may not even be in a place, or Stu may not be in a place where I should probably be doing a 1 rep max. We have to work up to that.
Absolutely.
But generally speaking, someone that works on a good periodized strength training program will show value across the board.
Yeah. And in fact, here's a good progression if you really think about it. And if I miss one, fill in a blank, or there's always things to fill in. And when you think about it, a strength progression like this, you can start off with calisthenics. And actually, without calisthenics, you can start off before that with bands or something easier than calisthenics that make calisthenics a little easier.
Suspension trainers, right, like a TRX or something.
A TRX. You can also use a TRX on the back end of calisthenics to make them harder, depending on the exercise and the angle. So you got that level right there is a nice little calisthenic progression to build strength. And then you can go into a little more of the weighted exercises. You got weight vests, you have dumbbells, you have kettlebells, you have barbells, and now you're starting to build that. I mean, you could even do the weight machines. Sometimes I'll have beginners who are really unable to do a whole lot with a barbell, don't even touch a barbell yet, and they'll focus more on the weight machine, just kind of build some basic strength. Maybe we'll rest with plank poses or something like that to kind of get the core a little stronger. So once again, kind of go back to a calisthenic base and then slowly progress them in a way where we start adding multiple joints to those movements. So now instead of doing, instead of having them do a power clean with a jerk, I'm going to have them pick up a pair of dumbbells off the ground and then bring them up to your shoulders and go over your head. So same type of movement, just a little less dynamic, and it's a good progression until you can actually do that with a barbell one day. So once again, strength is relative, but at the same time, there are logical progressions. Like if I have a 13-year-old kid who wants to get stronger, I'm going to start them off with calisthenics, maybe a few dumbbell work, and hang out there for about a year, right? And then start building into more of the weight training stuff. So
100% agree in every way. And that's where my 3 favorite tools for somebody that is getting into training is body weight, bands, and suspension trainers.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the crazy thing is this: my advanced people, then the body weights, the bands, and the suspension trainers really become of value too. It's kind of like this. Wait a minute, like I do more push-ups from parallettes and pull-ups now than I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it's not because I couldn't do them before. It's just as I move through, the beautiful thing about body weight stuff, if done correctly, is that those movement patterns are so fluid and transferable into everything.
Yeah.
And where I'm getting, it's like, well, at my age, not that I'm old, but I just want to move really, really well. And body weight stuff, right away, my brain tells me it feels good. It doesn't. Stay here, move on, whatever it is. And so that's where I start with all my folks as well.
Right. I got a couple of emails from people who watched our first periodization video, and they were just asking why our cycles are different. Like I have a 13-week cycle, you have a 6 to 8 week cycle. And the only difference is I really actually have a 6 to 8 week cycle that goes up like this. The only thing is my weeks 10, 11, 12, 13 tend to come down and do a little taper on the back end.
Yep.
So it's still the same cycle. It's just I have a little taper because what I do on that back end is then I test everybody after, a 2 or 3 week taper. And usually 9 times out of 10, they are either stronger, they are either faster, their muscles are recovered, and they're ready to roll. So you got to think that that's really the only difference. Our growth cycles are the same. I just tend to make the bell curve with a taper on the back end. So that's really the only difference.
If you were to put Stu and I both on the spot with a certain individual that's very specific to say, for example, I've ran somebody through my 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, and then I have to repeat that cycle. Well, if I know going through that first 8, 10, 12 weeks that, we could have gone a little bit longer here than I will.
Yeah.
And same thing with Stu. If he's saying a 12, 13 week program, but if he's taking an individual through that second time and he saw that there is diminishing return on one of his individuals, he's probably going to shorten one of those cycles, or he's going to start his taper earlier.
Yeah.
Or like in the sport world, because they have to compete fairly regularly, there's a bunch of micro tapers for competition. So again, it's I've said this in my video before, and probably we've said it many times. It's a matter of execution, right? It's not that there's a never, but there's never really a bad program. It's just how it's been executed, or how the coach is implementing, right? Because if someone just says, "Hey, Stu and Jeff, I have this person," and they give you just a cookie cutter 3 sets of 10, right? And you have to take this program and make it work for that person. We could, but you really have to look at it and go, okay, well, what's my tempo, frequency, rest periods? What exercise am I doing? Unless that's pre-stipulated, you can take, and that's what someone texted me the other day, and he's from the UK, and he goes, "Yeah, I was in the gym he's in London, and he said the only way to get stronger is do 5x5, not 3 of 10, not anything, 5x5, 5x5. If you take something rigid, and that's all you're willing to work with, you're really limiting that organism, because the human body is so versatile.
Yeah.
If you take this really versatile human being and put him in this very rigid structure, you're only going to evolve within that structure. And that's where Stu and I, the conundrum that he and I fall in is that, we have online programming that is it's this diverse template, but he and I experience time and time again, like even my program, I had a bodybuilder from Houston that anytime he looks at a weight, he puts on 15 pounds of lean muscle.
Yeah.
So he's in my Train Heroic program. He's 8 weeks in. He's trying to go from 300 pounds to 250, and he's a rock solid dude. He was at 265, 270, and then he started putting weight on. And so I called him. And I'm like, okay, we gotta change this, because he's getting too much hypertrophy because he's so strong.
Right.
Like those percentages to lean out are just adding hypertrophy to him. So, and I know that, and it's hard for he and I to just put out there is no perfect plan if it doesn't have room for growth. Right. If a plan does not, here's the thing, here's my last soapbox speech on this very topic, is that if a plan is so rigid that it doesn't allow for progressions and regressions, you're limited. Right. So that's what Stu and I are trying to share with you, is like, even our programs, don't let our programs limit you. Okay. There's a lot of levity, because it's about movement quality over distance.
And the guy's not wrong. I mean, 5x5s are great. I mean, I love 5x5s. I've been doing 5x5 since I was 16 years old, and they're great strength. We'd go 80% of our 1 rep max 5x5. And that was a butt kicker. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a classic. However, we also do reverse pyramids, kind of go 2, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. If you want to, like a good, nice warm up before 1 rep max. You're not going to probably get your 1 rep max, but it's a way to go heavier. You can go what we call 2 pops, where you just, every set you do is just 2 reps, and it's easy. It starts off real easy. You get heavier every time until you can't do 2 reps. You can only do 1. There's 3 sets of 10. There's 3 sets of 5. There's 3 sets of 3s. There's so many different variables to building strength. And it really, once again, I hate to say it, it really kind of depends on where you are seeing your results, because once again, you cannot argue with results. You know, if you're getting stronger, keep doing that because it's working for you.
The only time, one of the only times, again, I'm trying not to speak in absolutes, one of the only times that you're going to find, we'll call a nearly perfect program in every way, is that if you have someone like Stu and I take a individual or group of individuals that are working towards a common goal and it's constantly monitored.
Yes.
And deviations are allowed for and corrections. So like the group that Stu trains with every morning, he knows those folks. And so if someone's coming and having a particular struggle, he can say, here's another, instead of doing 3 sets of 10 sets of 3, go kind of thing. We can make those changes on the fly. Given the state of readiness of that individual, you can create those quick modifications. And so that's really where we are trying to educate you all to start thinking a little bit outside the box.
Yep.
Because if you're having a bad day or a good day, the parameters of those exercises can change. And we want them to.
Yeah. And also, it just depends on, when you're having a good day. Like yesterday, we had a great day. We did this SWAT competition and everybody gut checked it out. And, there's 8 of my guys that were working out and they did this SWAT competition. And then today, I knew they would, at 6 a.m., they would come in looking like crap because they just, put out for the last, one, we had to wait around all day in the sun and then go do this thing. So we did a mobility day today, and tomorrow we'll do something a little harder, so you have to have that kind of flexibility is what I'm saying, to throw right into a program where it was a leg day for us. We were going to do leg day until I looked at them and said, okay, we don't need to do leg day today. Let's do some mobility work and some non-impact cardio and foam roll and stretch. So.
Yep. So we'll jump. What we'll do is then, we've kind of given you this 30,000 foot view in this conversation. Now Stu and I will each kind of give you, again, we're going to kind of lay the foundation of the railroad tracks in our approach. So if someone says to me, again, it all depends on things we've talked about. If someone says, hey, Jeff, how would the start of your strength program look? Okay. As I start putting pen to paper, if you will, or typing in an Excel sheet, like, hey, this is how my program goes. So what I'm going to do is, in my strength program, I'm going to look at about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the individual, give or take, okay? It might go out to 10, depends on the individual. For this person, I'm going to say, let's pick 6 weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, all right, well, how many days a week am I going to train? Well, I'm going to pick 6. I'm going to take 6 days a week. No, let me phrase that. 6 blocks. Again, it's not Monday through Saturday, Sunday off necessarily, but in a 7-day window, I'm going to create 6 blocks. If I have to take a day off, then I just shift it. If I take
could be a Wednesday. Could be a Wednesday off.
Yep. Monday is not International Bench Day. Monday is block 1 or 2, or Monday could be, you could be at, 3 weeks. Monday could be at block 4.
Yeah.
So we want that mobility of your blocks. So I'm going to take 6 training blocks and I'm going to plug in my primary movements. My primary movements is a squat. It's a press. It's a deadlift. So squat, bench, deadlift, right? And around that, to create some ancillary movements, I'm going to make sure that my triceps get worked, my biceps get worked, and my shoulder gets worked. And I'm going to mix them in there a certain order, because what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to put in very high nervous system demanding movements, in that, like deadlift. Right? A lot of back, a lot of pulling, a lot of pull-ups. It's very demanding on the body, on the nervous system, because the volume can be high and the mass can be upward. It can be upwards of 50%, 60% of, perceived maxes or higher. Okay. So there's a lot of mass gets moved over a great distance. So that's my bench day. That's my squat day. That's my deadlift day. Now I'm going to work in triceps. I'm going to work in shoulders and biceps. Like I said, they're less nervous system demanding if you do it in a way that's not just crushing your shoulder joints and stuff. Like I don't need you guys bicep curling your body weight for reps, okay, kind of thing. We want that bicep strength to transfer into your bench press, believe it or not, into your pressing. Yep. We want it into your pull-ups, okay? We want that lat strength and that tricep strength, because your lat and tricep attached to the same place. So we want, and then push-ups too. we want your triceps, your lats, and everything to work together for those PST and those push-ups and everything. So I'll go maybe block 1 is chest. Block 2 is then maybe I'll go to biceps. Block 3 might be going to look like legs. Then I'm going to go to triceps because you see I'm separating these nervous system demanding days, and then I'm going to go to shoulders, and then I'm going to go to whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to start segmenting a little bit and go, all right, here's your blocks.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And then in that same block, I'm going to add some running. I'm going to add some swimming. I'm always going to have, that's one thing I do is I always have body weights. Like you may be doing squats, but I might sprinkle in some pull-ups to again elongate that spine. On my deadlift days, I have my guys do a lot of pull-ups. Not big clusters of like 12, 12, 12, but after you pull a set of 6 on a deadlift, I'm going to have them hop up in the bar and do 2 or 3 reps. Get that spine long.
Yep.
Okay.
Stretch the spine and grippers.
Grip strength. Yep, absolutely. And so again, that's where my head falls on my strength blocks because it allows a lot of shifting based on your level of readiness, but it also creates a bit of separation between and then that block, let's say that training cycle, I want to do some absolute strength where I want to squat heavy, bench heavy, lift some heavier movement. Well, now I've created, that 24 to 48 hour window of separation between intensely nervous system, but on the next day, I'm still getting a good workout in. I might do some cardio, I might do a HIIT training, I might do a HIIT session, high intensity interval session. And then I'm back to squat, and then I might fluctuate them. Yep. And just like you already talked about today, that's what you did. You had a very intense weekend, right? Now we keep them training, but we add value to the training rather than just to have them stick another foot in the grave.
Right.
That's my method when it comes to strength.
Yeah, same. I just call it a little bit different. I have always, for some reason, I've got into a habit of doing push, pull, leg, full, core, right? So those are my blocks. Yep. So I have a push block, which if you break up all your pushing movements, you're looking at bench, you're looking at overhead, and those muscles are your chest, shoulders, triceps, yep. Right? Anything pushing away from your body, pushing away over your head, or even pushing down, adding dips in there too. So all those different planes I'm pushing. Same for pull. Some days I'll do push and pull on the same day. Some day I'll split them. It just depends. The pulls, rows in this plane, pull-ups, pull-downs, bicep curls, bent over rows with barbells or dumbbells or TRX rows, those type of things. Grip. Thing. So push, pull, and a lot of times I like to mix in some of the deadlifts into the pull day. So that kind of gets into what I call my full body day. So push, pull, leg full, core, cardio is kind of my blocks. So sometimes they intermingle, sometimes they're by themselves. Leg days. Usually I go with legs and full together. I like to do that. I like to do the squats. I like to do the deadlifts. Sometimes we'll mix it in with a lot of farmer walks, and then and then we'll progress that to farmer walks up and down stairways, just to make them a little bit harder. It gets a little more cardiovascular too. It's amazing how hard that gets. But yeah, push, pull, leg full. Core cardio, and usually core I just intermingle throughout the workout. And I have this old saying where I rest with abs, right? And it's just it's not all abs. It's it's plank poses, it's crunches, it's abs, it's flutter kicks, it's all these little things that kind of go really well with those exercises.
For sure.
And it just, instead of sitting around. Now this is something when I was a pure power lifter, I would just sit around for 5 minutes, sitting in a chair, hanging out in between sets. Now, I just can't do that anymore. And I don't think the tactical athlete should do that. I think they should be resting with another exercise. So even though we're doing pure strength training to try to get stronger, let's say you're doing a 5x5 with deadlifts, I'm going to have you doing pull-ups in between, or maybe something that light. I don't want to stretch you too much in the core, but maybe do a plank pose, just kind of stretch it out a little bit, maybe do a side plank or something a little bit different to kind of counterbalance that. But you're doing something instead of just resting and doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree. And
yeah.
for me, like I have an assault bike and I have a ski erg.
Oh yeah, those are great too. Rest
And
with cardio.
And that's where I go. Like it doesn't. I always tell people this, and it's a nervous system thing. And that's what you're already doing. Is that I go, you drive that intensity up. Like we get in this fight or flight method, right? We're like puffing and puffing, and we're getting pale and we're getting nauseous, and we want to sit down. That's your body going, all right, dude, slow the heck down. So instead of me just stopping and sitting down like I used to do, right, or bend over, hands on the knees, I go over to my bike or my skier, and I just move slow.
Yep.
I want my body to go, all right, he's going to reset himself through movement.
Yeah.
Right. If you're at Bud's, you're cruising, you hit a wall, you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Right. If you've always stopped when you hit that wall, you've trained that.
Yeah.
That's how you recover.
That's a really good one. Cause we'll do that too. We'll rest with cardio.
Yep.
And it sounds odd, but you really are. It could be a bike. It could be a treadmill. It could be
nice
elliptical.
and easy. Right.
Yeah,
it's not a bam. It's just move.
Yeah. And try to do some nose breathing.
Yep. Same. So I live like in my street. It's a pretty quiet, long, dead end street, and my garage doors. What I'll do too is I'll just walk out the garage, walk 2 minutes, walk back.
Nice.
Just key in it because it's sunny too. You know what I mean? So that's the other side too of, I guess, the upside of me training out of my house is that I could just get in the sun when I need to. So but what you're noticing, I guess the commonality is what you're noticing with Stu and I is diversity. Right. Yeah. And we have a plan, and it's everything. We don't want to bench twice a week. We don't want to squat 3 times, but we kind of do. We press almost all the time. Yeah. We bend almost all the time. And it's like my shoulders day really is a full, because I do a lot of push. I really do a lot of push presses. I have my guys do a lot of push pressing.
Right. Yeah.
With dumbbells and such, and center mass bells and the jammer arms and all these sort of things that I've got. One of my favorite exercises is basically on a shoulder day ends up being, or even a deadlift day. I've heavy medicine balls, 100s, 80s, so on, and I put them on a plyo box at the 18 inches, so it's the lowest of the plyo, and I go into a deadlift pull from a gable grip to a catch, and then I go into basically a push press, and I just drop the ball, and I do it again. I scoot, gable grip, deadlift, boom, stay vertical. That for me is me personally, and my guys. That's one of my favorite exercises.
Well, that's cool.
But you do, like I have a sea bag. I had a sea bag, and I had it filled, and I left it at VHP just because they use it more. But I took a sea bag, and I went to Home Depot, and I bought the 40-pound bags of rubber tire mulch. I just stuck them in the sea bag. That's nice. Now I have a bag that the guy's throwing and pushing, and it's just everybody's got. So you can get sea bags anywhere.
Oh, right? That's pretty cool.
That's what we did, and we just took you know how you kind of fold it and through and you clip. Once you clip it through, we just took a bunch of duct tape and just 6 or 8, 10 revolutions duct tape. And I thought some of that rubber would fall out. It doesn't.
It stayed in there. Oh, wow.
It stays in there. I might get one piece here and there, but it doesn't make a mess at all.
That's neat. And it's got straps. You can put it like a backpack too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Huh. And we had a couple of them. We had one that was just straight rubber mulch. It was like 60 pounds. And then you could buy I guess when you're going to lay bricks in your garden or like a walkway, you put sand in there, like the grout, the really dry, fibrous grout. And that's how we added weight. So we filled one full of sand, and we got a 40-pound bag, and we put about half that sand, because it just trickles down there. It just makes it heavier.
Oh, that's really
cool. We had one that was 120 pounds.
Oh, that's nice.
And it doesn't make a mess either.
Yeah, you could do farmer carries with that thing. You could shoulder carries. Yeah, that's chest carry stuff.
It's in it because it's pliable. Else? Well, that's why I like
battering ram
with the sea bag. I could throw it on my shoulders too.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have to be back behind me like a lot of guys hate having the bar behind them.
Yeah.
I could just hold the side of the sea bag. It forms to your shoulder and neck, and you could walk and then just dump it.
Yeah, I like that. You put it on your head too.
You certainly can.
Yeah.
It kind of came to one of my buddies where I trained as going back to recon or going back to MARSOC, blew out his knee the last day before they dropped him. Mm. But anyway, same thing. He brought a sea bag in, and we have a C2 Hawkeye pilot that I was training. Same thing, brought a sea bag in, and we just filled it full of mulch. To cheap it, because like the heavy medicine balls, like one of my medicine balls, the 100-pound medicine balls, like $300. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like you can get a bag of mulch at Home Depot for like $6.
Yep.
You can get a sea bag at any. I mean, seriously, everyone can find a sea bag somewhere.
Sure.
So
you know what we do? That's a good one. I'm going to share you my cheap Home Depot story. So we make these things called sand babies, right? And it's just you buy a bag of sand for $4 at Home Depot.
Yep.
And they're 50-pound bags of sand. So you just take off a little bit of it, try to get it to about 40, 45 pounds, fold it over each other, and then you just duct tape as much duct tape as you get. It might take 2 rolls of duct tape to form around it. And to get this thing that's like we call it a sand baby. And you do anything with it. And we simulate log PT with it. And we came up with this workout called the Sand Baby Murph, right?
Yep.
And you can't set it down at all for the entire time. And you have to do 100 like push presses with it. You have to do 100 chest carry lunges, and you have to do like 150 squats on your shoulder, and then 150 chest sit-ups with it. And what is that? That is probably the main 4 exercises of log PT.
Yep.
Other than running with it, or you don't really run with a log, but it's a shuffle. So and then at the end you just carry it like you're running like a little perimeter of our field, and you're just carrying it on your shoulder, carry it on your head, just carry it wherever you want. And that has been a really good way to help build the strength and endurance for the type of movements that we're really training for when we're talking about strength. Because it's the reason why I want to focus on strength, and I've written about it and I've done it and do it all the time with my guys, is because it really comes down to their durability when they are under stress of anything, stress of running, stress of rucking, stress of a log, stress of a boat, you name it.
Yep. It's all those components are an added mass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's strength training. Again, because now the thing too is like what we're thinking, my mind goes, hey guys, BUDS is the expression of the strength that you've developed, right? So people say all the time, hey, shouldn't I do neck exercises? Well, most neck exercises really only contribute to minimizing concussion, strengthening the jaw and stuff like that, where unless you're a boxer or something, because we strengthen the neck because when we get a force, we want to be able to dynamically, eccentrically load the neck, because you're sternocleidomastoid and such. With a load being vertical, what we're going to get a front squat, pull-ups are a big one because we get the traps and levator scapula in there. That's the best way to get a strong neck, in my opinion. It's not get a neck exercise and stuff.
Right.
It's really just strengthen because we think as the neck as being the neck. Well, the musculature of the neck is the back. It's your levator scapula and your trap.
Yep.
Okay. It's the musculature around your clavicle. Now, this muscle right here for turning your neck is called your sternocleidomastoid, and that right there isn't really. You don't need to strengthen it necessarily. You want to create that exoskeleton around your neck, which is your traps and levator scapula and your rhomboids, right? That runs to the flexion extension of your neck. So that's a common question I get too, but just carrying loads in a vertical position, right? Pulling and pressing overhead is the best way to get a strong neck.
Yep, absolutely.
So again, that's we're going to get into the next one about we're probably going to save absolute strength at the end.
Okay.
If at all, maybe,
yeah,
but
sure.
Because really we're going to get in the next piece. We'll talk about the speed piece, the agility piece. But Stu is right on where strength is the building block for durability, right? And then from the durability, we want to build in the components of dynamic eccentrics and dynamic concentrics and rotational stuff. So, and that's the other thing we're going to get into too. But again, it's if you're manipulating, he said it perfectly, if you're manipulating his sand baby, right, you're rotating, you're doing all these sort of things already. You're picking stuff up and you're turning. And I always like to take that medicine ball with a sand baby, deadlift it, shoulder toss, turn around, squat down, pick it up, over the other shoulder. And I'm just going to be like, I'm going to over shoulder this thing behind me for 25 meters. Don't even really think about reps. Just alternate shoulders. So there's actually a really good book. You know Zach Evan Esch?
Oh, yeah.
The Underground
Strength. Yeah.
That right there, that entire book is about basically that. And I'm a big fan of like because he's just like, hey, when you're starting out, we just need to be, we want to be farm strong. I agree with that
and
completely.
You know what? He does a great job because he trains 14-year-old kids.
That's it.
Yeah, in his underground thing. So he teaches them from the basics, and he builds badasses.
Yeah, Zach is great. So, guys, check out his book, Underground Strength by Zach Evan Esch. Yeah. It's a good one. So just to build that fundamental strength. But, I think I think we kind of we could keep going on and on, but as far as fundamentally,
I'd say let's do this. What's your favorite when you're doing a strength workout? What's your favorite go-to strength workout?
It's always pull for me. It's deadlifts, pull-ups, lat pull-throughs, bent over rows, medicine ball deadlifts, basically from an elevation or from the ground. It's kind of like lifting an Atlas stone. Right. If I am in a good stable position when I deadlift and pick stuff up and do pull-ups, if someone were to say, Jeff, you can only pick one exercise, I would say deadlift. That's the only, if that's what you have to do the rest of your life, I would say deadlift. Kind of because I enjoy it, but also kind of think systematically of just the total body nature of it, picking stuff up.
Yeah.
And if someone said, okay, you can expand that a little more, what else would you do? I would say, well, I would just pull. I'd do pull-ups. I would pick other objects up. So I would pull stuff to me. Right. I do seated rows. Again, then because now I'm incorporating the biceps, I'm craving tricep stability and lat stability and all those sort of things. So I just kind of, and also from my programming standpoint, I always work from the ground up.
Okay.
I go, hey, if I can get a person working from the ground up, now I can eventually get them overhead. Because if I'm getting them overhead and they're not foot and ground stable, I kind of think, well, wait a minute, I've kind of may have omitted a piece here, right? I want to get, where are my feet at? What are my knees doing? What are my ankles and hips doing? Where's my back at? All those sort of things. And I just systematically go ground up.
Yeah, it's like kind of teaching the hang clean without knowing front squat.
Exactly.
You gotta learn both. Yeah.
Yep,
so
for sure.
Yeah, I would say mine. I probably cut my teeth. My favorite exercise is, I hate to say it, it's the bench press. I love it. I've always loved it. Yep. I always like being strong. I like being, hey, how much can you bench? When you're a teenager, those are kind of the fun things. So I like the bench, but I like mixing it with pull-ups. So that's like that's like my combo. Rest with pull-ups, do bench press. Rest with pull-ups, do bench press. But as far as legs, definitely deadlift, hang clean, push press combo. I almost like to make a little complex out of that. So I'll do a deadlift, just do the deadlift part, do the hang clean part, do the push press part. And then, at the end, if I got anything left, I'll go a little lighter and do the full motion, power clean, jerk.
Yeah.
So once again, very similar to yours from the ground up. But I like I said, I love the push pull combo with the bench and the pull-ups. So
you just can't. And it's the kind of thing I always say is like, nobody really ever invents a new way of training. It's probably been forgotten. We're rediscovering it. And that's where the thing what you can, and I know you've said this a million times is, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, is that you can never, there's very few nevers and always, but you can never, ever go wrong. And I agree with you when you say this, go wrong with doing the basics well.
Yeah.
Like if you can deadlift well, you can do pull-ups well, you can bench press well, you can do push-ups well, you're going to do everything well. Because if you're deadlifting, you're going to have the hip position to squat. Then you can squat well. Then that will transfer into running. It will also transfer into swimming. It'll transfer into hiking. It'll transfer into skiing and snowboarding.
It transfers into everything. It transfers into the way you pick up things when you're not working out in your yard.
When I change the cat litter.
You don't hurt yourself. When you don't
literally,
hurt yourself.
I'm in a perfect squat when I'm changing the cat litter with my hips. I'm going, man. I had someone comment on one of my videos. I did a push-up video, and for the first 4 minutes, I'm in a squat talking to at the time, assistant strength coach Tim about position. And someone's just like, the video is great, but he goes like, I can't even get in that squat position. So
Wow.
I started thinking, I'm like, man, I'm in that position an awful lot because it feels good. I do bicep curls from that position.
Oh, wow.
I get like on a plyo box and I take light dumbbells and I get in a squat and my arms hang between my knees. It's like a preacher curl, but I like to do a preacher curl from a very stable, static, and I just curl.
Okay. Gotcha.
It really, I have to fire my hips. My hips get tired more than my arms almost. But that's where like I've gotten away from just, I like bodybuilding type movements, but I take a very strict bodybuilding movement like a dumbbell curl and I put a piece of mobility to it. I put a piece of stability to it. And that's where I started looking at it and go, that's actually really pretty basic.
I like that. That's a really good one. I've never done that one. You know,
I'll shoot you a video I'll shoot you a video today and I'll send it to you because I use the center mass bells, the Sornex ones.
Oh, sure.
Because they come together and they roll.
Right.
When I curl, I put them together. I'll shoot it. I'll send it to you.
That's cool. One I like to do is I kind of get into a fighter position, right? So I'm kind of like in a half squat fighter position, and I do military press with dumbbells, but I go like this.
Yeah.
So I'm alternating, and it's all core and hips, and like I said, in that fighter position. So it's.
So I think maybe Stu and I just came up with one of our next videos. We'll because we were talking about off camera. We're gonna probably do one just on like funny stories. We'll do one on. Hey, we'll pick our 5 favorite exercises and we'll talk about them.
Yeah. All right.
Something maybe like we'll just again with the content. You guys just keep giving us questions and we'll just keep doing our best to answer them.
Cool. All right. So strength down. What's next? What are we gonna talk about next? Speed and agility.
Yep. Speed, power, and agility.
All right, let's do it. Adding a velocity component to our strength.
Yes.
I like it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks,
awesome.
Jeff.
All right. Take care.